Sometimes the most incredible magic tricks aren't happening on a stage, they're happening right in our own backyards. Today, we're going to dive into one of nature's absolute coolest performances, the story of how a little crawling critter completely reinvents itself into a beautiful flying work of art.
I mean, just look at this thing. It's gorgeous. The wings, the colors. It's like a tiny, perfect masterpiece. But the real mind blower, the big mystery we're going to unravel today, is this. How in the world does that come from this? This little wiggly munching machine. It feels like it shouldn't be possible, you know? But it is. And it's not magic. It's a real-life process with a really fantastic name.
And that name is Metamorphosis. I know, it's a big, fancy word, but all it really means is a complete and total change-up. Think of it like a superhero's origin story, where they turn into something completely new with brand new powers. And for our butterfly, this whole superhero journey happens in 4 incredible acts.
So let's follow our little hero on its adventure. We're talking 4 distinct stages that take it from basically a tiny little speck on a leaf all the way to a master of the skies. All right, here they are, the 4 big stages. First, you've got the egg. That hatches into the larva, which is just the sciencey word for our good friend the caterpillar. Then things get really weird in the pupa stage inside the chrysalis. And finally, ta-da, the adult butterfly. So let's start right at the very beginning.
Okay, so now we're at what I like to call the all-you-can-eat buffet part of the story. Seriously, at this point in its life, our little hero has one job and one job only: to eat. A mama butterfly is super picky. She finds a very specific kind of plant, called a host plant, to lay her eggs on. Why? Because that plant is the only thing her new babies will eat. For the famous monarch butterfly, for example, that special plant has to be milkweed. No milkweed, no baby monarchs.
So as soon as it hatches, what's the first thing it does? You guessed it eats, and its first meal is its own eggshell. Talk about recycling. After that, it's just munch, munch, munch on its host plant, 24/7. It grows so fast that its skin literally gets too tight, like a pair of jeans you've outgrown. So it has to wiggle out and shed its skin. That's called molting. And, well, all that eating means a lot of, caterpillar poop. The fancy science name for it is frass. Okay, get ready for this number. 3,000 times. That's how much bigger a caterpillar can get. To give you an idea, if a human baby grew that much, they'd be as big as a school bus. It's absolutely bonkers. And it does all this in just a couple of weeks, just packing away all the energy it's going to need for the craziest part of its life. All right, our caterpillar is full. The feast is over. Now it's time for the most mysterious, most mind-blowing part of the whole journey. It's time to disappear from the world for a little while and perform some real magic.
So what it does is it finds a nice, safe spot, makes a little silk button to hang from, and then it hangs upside down in this classic J shape. Then, for the very last time, it sheds its skin. But this time, what's underneath is totally different. It's a hard, protective casing called a chrysalis.
So what is going on in there? This part is going to sound like something out of a sci-fi movie, but it's 100% real. The caterpillar basically digests itself. It releases enzymes that turn its entire body into this gooey cellular soup. But, and here's the amazing part, hiding in that soup are these special cells that are like tiny construction workers with a blueprint. And they get to work completely rebuilding the creature from scratch into a butterfly. Wings, legs, antenna, the whole deal. Okay, quick pop quiz. Chrysalis or cocoon? People mix these up all the time. So here's the deal. Moths spin a silky sleeping bag around themselves to protect their pupa. That's a cocoon. Butterflies don't do that. Their chrysalis is their pupa. That hard shell is actually their own final skin. So, an easy way to remember, butterflies have a chrysalis, moths make a cocoon.
So, after about 10 days or so of all that crazy rebuilding, the wait is almost over. It's time for the grand finale. The hard work is done, and a brand new animal is ready to make its debut.
And you know what is so cool? Right before it comes out, the chrysalis actually turns clear. It becomes transparent. You can literally see the colorful patterns of the wings right through the shell. It's like a little sneak peek of the magic inside.
But getting out is a delicate process. First, the chrysalis splits open, kind of like a zipper. The butterfly has to pull itself out, and when it does, its wings are all wet and crumpled up. So it hangs there and starts pumping fluid into the veins of its wings to slowly inflate them, like tiny, intricate balloons. Then it has to just sit and wait. sometimes for a couple of hours, until they're dry and strong enough for that very first flight.
So, our butterfly made it. It can fly. But that's not its only new superpower. Its entire world has changed. It now sees, tastes, and experiences things in a way that's completely different from when it was a caterpillar.
Check this out. A butterfly's eyesight is amazing. We see a pretty yellow flower, right? Well, a butterfly sees that, but it also sees an ultraviolet light. And in UV, flowers have these incredible patterns on them that act like glowing landing strips, all pointing right to the sweet nectar inside. It's like a secret treasure map that only they can see. And since it's not chewing leaves anymore, it traded its jaws for this incredible thing called a proboscis. It's basically a built-in, curly drinking straw that it can unroll to sip nectar from deep inside a flower. How cool is that?
But wait, it gets even weirder. Butterflies don't have noses. So how do they smell and taste? With their feet. I'm not kidding. They land on a leaf and can literally taste it with their feet to see if it's the right place to lay their eggs. Can you imagine tasting your dinner just by standing on it? Wild.
So this whole incredible story is happening all the time, all around us. But you know, these guys need a little help to keep their amazing life cycle going. So here's your mission should you choose to accept it. Become a certified butterfly buddy. And it's actually really simple. First, plant the right stuff for the caterpillars, those native host plants, like milkweed for monarchs. Then, plant some pretty flowers full of nectar to feed the adult butterflies. And probably the most important thing you can do is avoid using any pesticides in your garden. That stuff is really bad news for them. And what's the reward for being a butterfly buddy? You get a front row seat to one of nature's greatest shows. You can literally watch this entire magical journey, from a tiny egg to a magnificent butterfly, happen right in your own backyard. So this whole amazing journey from caterpillar to butterfly isn't just some story in a book. It's a real-life process you can actually see and support. And it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other astounding secret transformations are happening all around us, just waiting to be discovered. Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we are diving into the world of one of nature's most stunning insects, the butterfly. But you know, behind those gorgeous, colorful wings are some seriously strange abilities and fascinating secrets. So, think you're a butterfly expert? Well, we are about to find out. Let's get this quiz started. Okay, so here's the deal. I've got 8 questions lined up to really challenge what you know. Some are pretty straightforward, but a few are kind of tricky. But hey, every single one reveals something incredible about these insects. So you ready to play? All right, let's kick things off with round 1, which is all about anatomy. We're going to look at the basic building blocks of a butterfly. Let's see how much you really know about their unique bodies. First question, right out of the gate. Just like all insects, a butterfly's body is split into 3 main sections. Can you name all 3? I'll give you a second to think. Time ticking? That's right, it's the head, thorax, and abdomen. And that thorax, the middle part, that's basically the powerhouse. It's where both the legs and those powerful wings connect. If you got that one, you're off to a great start. Okay, next up, let's talk about how they actually eat. Butterflies have this super specialized way of getting their food. What do you call that long, coiled, straw-like tongue they use? Take a second. It is called a proboscis. And this picture gives you an amazing look at it. See how it stays all coiled up when it's not being used? But when it's lunchtime, it unrolls to sip nectar from deep inside a flower. It's literally a built-in, reusable straw. How cool is that? All right, I've got a true or false question for you now. True or false, butterflies smell all those lovely flowers using tiny little noses. What's your gut feeling on this one? The answer is false. And this is where butterflies get really, really weird. They don't have noses at all. Instead, their sense of smell is in their antennae, and, get this, they taste with their feet. Yup, they actually stand on their food to see if it's something they want to eat. Just imagine doing that with your own dinner. Fantastic work in round 1. Now we're moving on to one of the true marvels of the entire natural world, metamorphosis. So welcome to round 2, the Great Change. Okay, here is a question that trips a lot of people up. We all know that caterpillars build some kind of protective case to transform in,
But is the correct term for a butterfly's casing a cocoon?
And the correct answer is a chrysalis. This slide says it perfectly. See, a cocoon is woven from silk. That's what moths do. A butterfly's pupa, on the other hand, has a hard outer shell that is the casing itself. So an easy way to remember, moths have cocoons, butterflies have a chrysalis.
So we know this amazing transformation is called metamorphosis. But how many separate stages are there in a butterfly's entire life cycle? From the very, very beginning to the moment it finally takes flight. How many are there?
There are four totally distinct stages. First, you have the egg. Then it hatches into the larva, which is the caterpillar we all know and love. Next, it becomes a pupa inside that chrysalis, where all the magic happens. And finally, the winged adult butterfly emerges. 4 stages, and each one looks and acts completely different.
Okay, for our next question, let's talk numbers. To make sure at least some of her offspring survive, a female butterfly has to lay a huge number of eggs. How many are we talking, though? What's your best guess?
The answer is a pretty staggering 200 to 500 eggs. Now, that might seem like a crazy amount, but it's really a numbers game. With so many predators and other dangers out there, only a tiny, tiny fraction of those eggs will ever actually become butterflies. And here we are, our final round. This one is called Super Senses and Skills. This is where we get into the really extraordinary abilities that butterflies use to navigate and survive in the world. Let's dive right in.
So, think about how we see the world. All the vibrant colors in a garden. The question is, do butterflies see those exact same colors? True or false? A butterfly's vision is pretty much the same as ours.
That is absolutely false. And honestly, this is mind-blowing. Butterflies can see ultraviolet light, which is a whole spectrum of light that's totally invisible to you and me. So, like this slide shows so perfectly, a flower that looks like a plain yellow circle to us might actually have these incredible hidden patterns, like a secret runway that's only visible to a butterfly.
All right, our very last question is all about the famous monarch. Their caterpillars are brightly colored, they're slow, they're basically a walking buffet for birds. And yet, most predators won't go near them. Why is that? What's their secret weapon?
It all comes down to one simple fact. They taste absolutely terrible. It's a brilliant defense mechanism, really. Monarch caterpillars only eat milkweed, which happens to be toxic. They store those toxins right in their bodies, which makes them a really disgusting meal for any bird that's brave enough to take a bite.
And that's a wrap on the quiz. We've journeyed through their bodies, their incredible life cycle, and their amazing superpowers. Now it's the moment of truth. Let's see how you did.
So, how'd you do? Go ahead and take a moment to tally up your score. Did you get all 8 right? Hey, whether you're a full-blown butterfly expert or you just learned something new today, thanks so much for putting your knowledge to the test.
I mean, from tasting with their feet to seeing a world of hidden colors we can't even imagine, it's so clear that butterflies are way more complex than they look. They're just tiny, flying marvels. So, I'll leave you with this one last thought. What was the most surprising thing that you learned today? Thanks for joining me.